So rather than just play a game and have you guys watch us, which is fun, but maybe not useful, we thought we'd go and take a sort of step back and look at a common mechanic between different games, ones that do it well, ones that do it badly, and talk about what we think. Well, maybe not actually a mechanic. Is it a mechanic? Is it a genre? Is it a theme? That's part of what we want to talk about.
Yeah.
And talk about zombies in video games.
So,
and I have a checkered history with them. And what about you, Mikey? Do you like zombie games?
long-term viewers of the channel will know that I do enjoy a good zombie game. And I've actually played quite a few different types of game, different genres of game, whether it's first-person shooter or more third-person controlled. So there are plenty of different options when it comes to this. And Jan asked an absolutely fantastic question that really did pickle my brain. And now I've got a bit more coffee in me. I might be able to answer it even worse. What was your question earlier on? We were talking about what is a zombie game, and you were asking about, what was the game? Plants versus Zombies?
So, yes, you were saying that that it's a genre. And I said, well, it used to be a tower defense thing, like Plants versus Zombies. Like, is Plants versus Zombies not a zombie game? And you just went...
You broke my brain. You literally...
Now, to me, it's an obvious answer. Yes, it is. It has zombies in it. But you like, it's not a zombie game. It doesn't feel like it.
It's weird. So this is a categorization problem. Us being humans, we like putting things in their specific pigeonhole. And to me, a zombie game doesn't just have zombies in it. It has to sort of like put a certain number of ticks in boxes in order to be a zombie game. And just because you're putting stuff and blocking zombies going in, it didn't feel like a zombie game to me. And perhaps that's because I played more hardcore versions.
I mean, you and I played Left 4 Dead 2 the other week.
Yes.
Very badly, I want to point out.
It was lots of fun.
I got grumpy at Mikey because I wasn't communicating properly, which Mikey was like, you're the one wandering off. Like, why aren't you next to me? Because you're wandering off. You're running into a fire with a knife, and I'm back here. But that's a survival sort of first-person shooter, right?
Mm.
I've played a great deal of... Well, okay, let me go back a little bit and explain my thing with zombie games. I play games with zombies that I enjoy. Yeah. I've played a decent amounts of 7 Days to Die, and although I didn't get into it for the longest time until I saw it on Neeb's gaming channel, just wasn't interested. Then I got into it, mostly from a sort of building and crafting, exploring kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But that game and Left 4 Dead 2 have very little in common. Generally, if I see zombies in a game, I'm not interested because it feels like such a cliche. Like, it feels like... This isn't a fair criticism, but it's an honest, like, how I'm reacting. It's an honest criticism of myself. It feels like it's lazy, right? Oh, we'll just put zombies in it. People love zombies.
But there are so many different types of zombies. So there are a couple of games I definitely have not played. So Dying Light is at its heart a parkour game. And they've got zombies in, and I think they balance the difficulty with that reasonably well. I do think when you point, and this is the same for a lot of games, when you're kind of in a survival mechanic and you point a double-barreled shotgun at the face of something and it requires 5 of those, that's a bit, doesn't feel right.
I mean, it gets down to how gamey, in quotation marks, do you want it to feel?
Yes, exactly. Roderick raises a great point there. It's why they're called something different. If you take so when I first watched World War Z, and the zombies in that were completely different. So zombies characteristically are these slow moving things, and when you move them into games, they're slow moving.
We say characteristically, they sort of get reinvented every 5 years.
Yeah, but they're like, so fast.
Day of the Dead was a reinvention, and that was the slow zombie.
So I can certainly see there are a lot of sort of variations that come in. I mean, it's odd when you see like these huge walking hulks, and when you shoot them, they explode or they just soak up damage. They're your typical tank of a game. But it really opened my eyes when I saw World War Z and then the game as well, where pretty much all the zombies run at you. They sprint. It changes the whole dynamic. So when you're playing...
the first time I saw that in popular culture would have been I Am Legend.
Yes.
which really reimagined, because we'd had like a long time of the shambling zombie, like the Romero classic Day of the Dead zombie, right up until Shaun of the Dead. And then I Am Legend comes out and suddenly they're very fast. And then you start seeing sprinting, screaming zombies everywhere.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, because before then they were always like vampires or monsters or werewolves that moved at that speed. Like it's the whole point of zombies, where they were a tower defense problem.
There was a horde problem. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely enjoy the genre as a whole. I enjoy space and I enjoy zombies and I enjoy all games. But you gravitate towards certain styles of game. And certainly some of the best games that I played story-wise have been the Telltale games, which had The Walking Dead. Telltale?
I didn't play the Walking Dead one. I enjoyed The Wolf Among Us. I played it exactly once.
Yep.
And then didn't need to play it again. I started playing the Borderlands one. I bought it on episode 1 and had access to all the other episodes. By the time I got to episode 4, I'd lost all interest in it and stopped playing. So it's interesting. Like sometimes those games are really compelling, and sometimes it's like, eh.
Yeah, with the Telltale games, they're like a multiple choice game if you've not played them, and you determine the story based upon your actions. And as unfortunately most games, it's the illusion of choice rather than real choice. You do cut out story arcs and story paths, and later on, and I think this is a trick that they do, they leave your choice impact to much later in the game, so that when that thing happens, either with or without a character that you've said, no, we don't want you part of our group anymore, it's easier to contain the consequences of that to that one particular scene later on in the act, so to speak, rather
well, they
than
also
have it
do a lot of
propagate.
smoke and mirrors. Like they give you the impression that choices matter when they actually don't.
Yes.
Which is fine. Like that works great, and it's a great money-saving technique. Like just write, Mikey will remember that. Yeah. And actually have the same path either way. Because you don't really have the money to do hundreds of thousands of lines of dialogue for every possible choice. But once the player realizes that, the magic's gone.
Yes, segueing from zombies to something like Deus Ex, as soon as I got to the end and realized that all of my choices actually didn't matter, and it's the 3 or 4 you make at the very end of the game, that really started... it undermines the whole premise of the game at that point, where it's saying your choices matter.
If the experience is your choices are everything, and then you find out they're not, you stop playing the game.
Yes.
Right? In Deus Ex, if the experience is you have complete freedom, and then it turns out, no, there's only 3 possible paths, then the magic's gone. And I guess that's a good thing to ask with zombies, because one of the interesting things about zombies is, I'm going to go a little academic here. What zombies represent has changed over time. Like they were originally the big shambling socialist mass, right? The faceless proletarian horde coming for you. And then they shifted. I mean, originally they were the colonialist or fear of slaves, but they sort of revolved into this spiky, screaming, leaping demon thing. So I guess if you're making a game and you want to put zombies in it, the first question you want to ask yourself is why? Why do you want to put zombies in it? Like what's special about the zombies for you? What's the experience? What do the zombies represent? Especially when you're using mythological creatures, you can play with a little bit of symbolism here. Like the mythological creatures for me are most interesting when they're not just themselves. They represent an impulse, or they represent a fear. Dragon is a great example, right? A dragon can be the forces of nature that you can't possibly stop, or they could be like the greed and avarice of man. But if it's just big scaly lizard, I don't really care.
Madzuka, want to see the consequences you made in episode 2? Tune in to episode 4.
I mean, yes, it does feel like a marketing gimmick.
Yes.